butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
A butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to month 2 of the book club. Frederick, well done being first. Hey, V Games, what's going on? Here for the books, leaving for the games? Thanks for coming for the books. Hey, Fishy and Plaid Jammy Pants, what's going on? Welcome. Banger, that song gets me so hyped. I'm so ready. I'm not ready. We're missing a chatbot. So yeah, thank you all for coming and wanting to discuss this great book. Thank you, Silent Shelf, for putting it on the wheel. I'm very glad to have read this. I've been on kind of like a Brodigan kick ever since. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like most of it, but I like this one. I like this one, and I find something compelling even when I don't enjoy, like, a lot of the poetry I'm not feeling. But then you just find this one, like I don't know, every 10 poems or so, I'll find something that really speaks to me. I should have read it sooner so I had time to think about it and process it. Yeah, it's something that you might need to ruminate on a little bit, but we'll process it together. Should we just start very generally? Who enjoyed it? And maybe wait for some ads to fuck off. Memory versus forgetting. I hated it. You hated it. Ooh. This is going to make it interesting. What did you hate? And you enjoyed it, Frederick? And then obviously, Silent Shelf loved it. One of her favorites. I will say I hated it. I'm very curious because I had a viscerally negative reaction to... So we're looking at the collection that I read. So I just read through this whole book, and then I actually picked up another Brodigan collection once I was done, and I've been reading that. And I really did not like trout fishing in America. Hate is too strong. It's okay. Ads are gone. So I feel like now we can start in earnest. So for me, like, I had a viscerally negative reaction to trout fishing in America. I really did not like it. Even though I found there's one description in there. Oh, I wonder if I can find it real quick. It's like the sun burned like a quarter doused in gasoline and handed to you. It's like, hold this while I go get a paper. I don't know. Can I get this right? I should have highlighted this. Here we go. Somebody knew what I was talking about. The sun was like a huge 50-cent piece that someone had poured kerosene on and then lit with a match and said, here, hold this while I go get a newspaper, and put the coin in my hand, but never came back. And it's like that sort of like whimsical, just like unfettered, just wild, kind of like surreal or like goofy, kind of descriptive quality of his work at times can be really just like, a lot of times it comes off like you're just sniffing your own farts, or like, what does this actually mean in practice? Like, what are you even trying to say here? But then sometimes it like stumbles upon a moment of brilliance. And I guess that kind of like encapsulated my feelings towards the first book, which was like, I don't feel like I'm really getting what this is trying to do. And maybe I am getting what it's trying to do. I just don't like it. But so I'm wondering if like your reaction to In Watermelon Sugar was kind of like similarly to like how I felt towards trout fishing. And then also like the Pill versus the Spring Hill Mine disaster is poetry, and like I was saying a couple minutes ago, some of those poems really speak to me, a lot of them don't. A lot of them are kind of fucked, or just like very lowbrow. It's not even always just like problematic content, it's just like, I don't know, like fart and sex jokes, but like given like a slight literary flourish. Which I like that, like that sort of like mid-brow, like, hey, we're gonna get kind of like lofty here, and then just like also deal with this kind of humor, this kind of subject matter, and it's a range. It's very brain cell deleting. 10 stream streak, hell yeah, you rule. I feel like I like one thing, which is eye death, which I feel is not explored enough. I felt like stuff not getting explored was part of the point. Nothing was explored. I have questions about everything. It reads like Joyce if you had Andy Warhol's personality. So I guess I suggest. Last time we had a book club, some people were hanging out and they hadn't read the book. And you're welcome to be here. We love having you. So if anyone who hasn't read the book, let me just run through it real quick. I just pulled up the Wikipedia synopsis. So, In Watermelon Sugar is an American postmodern, post-apocalyptic novel by Richard Brautigan, written in 1964 and published in 1968. Set in the aftermath of a fallen civilization, it focuses on a commune organized around a central gathering house which is named Eye Death. In this environment, many things are made of watermelon sugar, though the inhabitants also use pine wood and stone for building material and fuel made of trout oil. The landscape of the novel is constantly in flux. Each day of the week has a different colored sun, which creates different colored watermelons, and the central building also changes frequently. The novel's narrator, who is left unnamed, claims to be writing an investigative book on his experiences at Eye Death. Its first-person narrative is sparse and minimalist, granting the novel a detached and alien quality. So this is kind of getting to, like, I agreed with Frederick that that was the point to me. Like, I find the book very alienating and, I don't want to say nihilistic, but just, like, I felt very, like, hopeless and sort of despondent by the end of it for a variety of reasons. And I felt like it was intentional, and I felt like it was effective in that regard. We were doing an analysis specifically on In Watermelon Sugar, right? Not this whole collection. Yeah, sorry. I'm prone to tangents. Although if we have time, I could bitch about some poems. And also not bitch about some poems. There's a couple poems I really liked, and I pulled those out. I'm only barely prepared for In Watermelon Sugar. I cannot talk about any of his other works. Yeah, sorry. I was like I saw the ads were rolling. It's like I'm just sort of filibustering book club. The synopsis does not even approach what it's like to read the work. I think it's a situation where like the synopsis is very helpful for approaching the work, because I feel like you could read the book and still kind of be confused about like many aspects of it. It does read like a dream, but it's so discombobulated and very on the verge of being incoherent. Like, I would need to be high to enjoy it. Yeah. It's like if Eden was made by AM. I feel what you mean. Like, I had a phase. It was like my peak pretentious phase, like late high school into like early college, where I was like really into just postmodern literature, like reading a lot of the beats, carrying around a copy of Naked Lunch under my arm and making sure people could see the cover. Just really, we don't want to, really cringy. But so I have some experience with like shit like this, and when it's done well, I really dig it. But when it can leave you feeling like, what did I just read? What was the story? What was it all for? Like, that's the danger of like real like postmodern stuff. It's like a lot of times, like, what is the point, or like what is it all adding up to? And that is kind of the point. Like, it's just sort of like sketches, flashes of this, and you sort of just like left. It gives a lot of reader agency, right? Like, you are just left to parse through all of these images and scenes and figure out what it meant to you. To me, it felt like everything would have made perfect sense if I understood the world, but I don't, so I just have questions. The people living in the world don't really understand it either, but I think they don't really feel the need to. I had the time to. It is literary impressionism. Yeah, so, like, having just read 2 books of his, I was like, okay, I kind of, like I said a few minutes ago, like, it's very whimsical and goofy at times with, like, very dark aspects. So, like, I didn't get hung up on, like, what does this mean with, like, making stuff out of watermelon sugar and, like, the technology of this society. Like, definitely did not approach this with, like, a hard sci-fi lens or with, like, any intention of, like, trying to make sense of the world. I just accepted it on its own terms and focused on, like, what is it sort of metaphorically trying to impart in terms of, like thematically, and, like, what do I feel in the characters? Which the characters, we don't really have a lot of character. Did anyone name their protagonist? So I'm going by my page numbers, which is probably way off from what y'all have, because I don't know how y'all read it, but, like, since it was book 3 in a collection, like, it's page 263. Like, some of my first notes start on page 262. So, but on page 264 in my book, let's jump around to that. Where are we? Okay. Oh, I can come back to that point. Oh yeah, I guess it's this whole bit, isn't it? I guess you're kind of curious as to who I am, but I'm one of those who do not have a regular name. My name depends on you. Just call me whatever is in your mind. If you are thinking about something that happened a long time ago, somebody asked you a question and you did not know the answer, that is my name. Perhaps it was raining very hard. That is my name. Or somebody wanted you to do something. You did it. Then they told you what you did was wrong. Sorry for the mistake. And you had to do something else. That is my name. And it just kind of goes on for a little bit. But did anyone name our protagonist based on any of these? Like, keeping with, like, the postmodern thing of, like, a lot of it is, like, subjective experience that you are left with, getting these, like, very sparse sometimes, or, like, incomplete images and scenes. Like, these recalled memories that I had and gave me certain associations. Hey, Mab47, oh hey. Gay people, gaming. As in, like, comedians. You're very interesting in Japanese. Welcome in. Have you, we're doing a book club here today. And discussing In Watermelon Sugar. Let me catch up here. I mean, just something like the tigers. I have no idea what the tigers are, but I assume those who interacted with the tigers know what they are. So they understand what they mean when they say things because they live in that world. I, however, don't. Yeah, so did you all take it to be literal tigers? Or, like, they call some other... Because they are sentient. They speak. But then they also have tiger qualities where they, like, consume... Like, they eat our protagonist's parents in front of him. I want to ask you guys what you think the author wanted to express or expel from his mind when he wrote. Okay, yeah, we have a couple like guiding questions here that we should explore. I was trying to figure out what the fuck watermelon sugar was, like when watermelon sugar was mentioned in the book. Yeah, like I said, like the way I treated this book, I just took everything literally. They're tigers. Like I gave it like a just fantastic aspect. Like I felt like a lot of stuff is metaphorical, and we'll get into that. But like in terms of like the actual specifics of the story and the events, and yeah, there are watermelons, and they like boil them down into like building materials, and like they're silent watermelons. And... Get out of here. Yeah. So speaking tigers, and I kind of like just the images that come into my mind, like to reading that way. Like I'm not trying to like tie it into something from the known world. Like it just gives it a fantastical aspect. They do more or less describe what it is. They even describe some of the process of making it. Yeah, because certain people have jobs down, like working the watermelons, right? Boiling them down. I think he felt a little like the Nameless Author. That theme that kept coming up of like, what is this book about? How is it going? And he's just like, I'm just writing it one word after another. And then I think in the end it is implied that this was the book. Yeah, the last lines we get, like, this is the book that the narrator was working on. It's actually just watermelon sugar, and they boil down from the watermelons, and they create furniture and any other object they need from it. Yeah, to me, so I had one summer where I stayed on a commune for a little bit. And like I said, I took this literally, but I saw also like the metaphorical aspect of it, where like when I was there, it was in the mountains of North Carolina, and like it wasn't too isolated, but like we just only had really what we were growing there, and then like trading with local farmers, and you know, there weren't like too many vehicles, and it was like a long drive to town. So anyways, just like the experience of living there, and just like you have one another, and you have like what you're able to pull from the earth and like grow and stuff, and that's it. And I felt like, I don't know, making everything out of like this, like having only like a couple supplies that you have to like build a society from, the ingredients or like the elements that you have. I kind of like tied it to that experience. You know, it was the like the communalistic like experience of just, you make do with what you have. And I was kind of thinking of like, why the choice of watermelons, like this sort of like whimsical, like sweet fruit that has a lot of associations with it. And I thought, like, is this the sort of, if we're talking about like metaphorical aspects, is it like the ideals, maybe even like the naive sort of ideas you have when you join a commune of how it's going to be? It's going to be all watermelon sugar, you know, it's going to like, we're all going to work together, and it's going to be hunky-dory. We're going to sing Kumbaya and have everything we need, be self-sufficient. And that's human experience at its best. And that's life. And then you get into it, and it's like, it's very hard, and there's difficulty. And, but you go in thinking it's watermelon sugar. I don't know. I was thinking about like the choice, why watermelons? And it might just be like his Brodigan's just like random ass. Cause I feel like a lot of stuff is just random. It just came to mind, and like, maybe he was doing some substances or maybe he was just being goofy, but I felt like there was something deeper with that one. Maybe I felt a recurrence of a thought about Orpheus or Psychopomps. Yeah. What were you thinking? You want to expand on that? Oh, yes. So the protagonist had a name for me. He did not. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I pulled up here. Like I kind of just went with it. So he's like, somebody asked you a question, you did not know the answer, and I was like, okay. I remember this time I was really embarrassed in middle school when like we had to do an art project for a history class, and I built the Colosseum, but I waited too long, and like I was making it out of clay, and I ran out of clay, and I didn't have any more, so like the Colosseum wasn't tall enough, like it wasn't actually accurate to the number of stories in the Roman Colosseum. And I took that in, and then Ben in history class, so the protagonist's name, I gave him Ben, asked why there weren't enough layers in the Colosseum, and I was like put on the spot. I was like, oh, because it's the modern day Colosseum that like degraded, and so we lost a layer there. He's like, well, why is it all uniform across the top? And Ben, you really, that's why I got the B. Teacher wouldn't have noticed if you didn't say that. So protagonist's name was Ben. Oh, I still have this muted. We can bring this back. Ads are over. Orpheus is like a failed psychopomp and also an inversive one, so I named him Orpheus. That's about how I felt as well. I think he felt a little... Where was this one? Oh, like the nameless author? That sounds claustrophobic as hell. Sorry, what does? Was that in a reference to the commune? Watermelon is a shockingly empty fruit full of seeds lacking in density. That's another good point, too. Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, like, is it meant to be our impressions of communes from the outside looking in, and then you get into it, and then it... Maybe you think it's all going to be like watermelons, and then you think, like, watermelons are awesome. They're really sweet. They taste good. You know? And it's like, okay, but to survive off a watermelon, it doesn't give you the density or nutrition that you need to be a staple. So it's going to be very hard work to build a world out of watermelons. To build a world out of, like, pure ideals and, like, sugar. It's not enough. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. I was thinking that might be the choice for the watermelon. I was thinking the names for the, like, tigers and watermelon sugar, I was assuming it was, like, lost language due to the post-apocalyptic world and due to, like, how stupid the characters were. Yeah, there's a lot of that, too. I loved, so, again, like, taking it literally, like, they are literally down there, like, shoot. It's the in-boil section. Where we find, like, in-boil and then, like, his growing group. They're just, like, finding things and then, like, boiling them, or not boiling, like, distilling them down into whiskey. And it's like, okay, I will take that on its literal face, but then also, like, metaphorically, like, yeah, the constant pull of nostalgia. They are literally drunk on the past. Like, they can't let go, you know? To the degradation of their own present selves. Like, they don't exist with everyone else at iDeath, right? They're just, like, isolated down in, like keeping to themselves and just getting drunk on things they found out of the past and not really understanding them. Which I thought was an interesting dimension to it, right? Like, they don't really know what they're finding, and they're just, like, turning it into booze. So they're just, like, yeah, drunk on the past, but not really getting any joy out of it. Like, I think ultimately nostalgia, like, comes up empty. Because, like, prioritizing that to the detriment of your present self, like, you're no longer living in the present. You're no longer living in the moment. You're living in some past, and you're there by yourself. No one's there with you. Referencing my time on the commune. Yeah, that's why, like, I could really actually relate to a lot of this, because I didn't like it. And I was wondering while I was there, like, is a life spent in the modern world, like, obviously everyone else here they weren't my age. There were some older people, and I mean, the guy who ran it was ancient. He had to be, like, in his 80s. Another guy in his 50s. There was one person I ran into that was from my university, which was wild to cross paths with him there. And I'd never met him. He had graduated like 3 years before I did. He's a really cool guy. A lot of them were, though, like, mid to late 20s into their 30s. I was like, I don't know if I'm suited for this. Like, I grew up a little too comfortable in isolation, alienation. And it was weird, like, I think of those as being negative things about modern existence, and then you're in a situation where, like, well, now there's just people around you all the time, and I hungered for release from that. I just wanted to go into my tent as, like, soon as possible some days and just not be talking to a bunch of other people. But everyone else seemed to really enjoy that aspect of it, and that's why they were there, I guess. I like that you bring this up. Oh, due to, like, how stupid the characters were. It feels close to an accidental commentary on the stupidity of the concept of, like, toxic masculinity, which I don't think Brodigan meant to do, as he has lots of misogyny in his books. Yeah, he does. But he was also, we don't want to dwell on this, I guess, but he's not a good guy. He was a product of abuse. He's, like, I went through, because I've been reading a lot of his stuff, so I went through his history. He had a really hard upbringing, like in severe poverty, and an abusive, I think it was a stepfather. I'm trying to remember now, because he had a lot of different like parental figures, like father figures that come in and out of his life. But he then became an abuser himself in adulthood. Yeah. Very, very sad, awful life in a lot of ways. And you can sort of see all of that darkness in the books. But anyway, just to say, like, yeah, some of the stuff he writes about is pretty fucked. I feel like the couple of women in the book are the characters with the most depth, but all the men in the book are like women, stupid and weird. They don't act like how women should. And then the men in the book are like, yep, I like bacon. Yeah, I kept, like, our protagonist is such a nothing, right? And we start out, well, we don't start out. I guess we start out now like we're with Pauline, but then we flash to the past when he was with Margaret. And she eventually hangs herself over him in a lot of ways. That's the way everyone sees it. Like, everyone just says she died of a broken heart. Now, that could be, to Silent Shelf's point, like, they're just not realizing her depth as a human and all the other things that might have driven her to this, because it's such a simplistic, childlike diagnosis. She died of a broken heart, or she's afflicted with a broken heart. Still, that thought feels too deep. Honestly, let's ask ourselves this: if we called it tangerine sugar or pumpkin sugar or eggplant sugar, would we feel the story changes? Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's the thing about, that's what I mean with Brodigan. It's like, I want to attach depth to this. I want it to mean something, but I don't say my impressions or like my interpretation with any sort of confidence. It might just be me desiring to attach more depth of meaning to the choice of a watermelon, and he might have just randomly chosen that. Because I feel like with some of those, what you're saying, like, you could make the same case for a tangerine that I'm saying about watermelons, right? That it's like sugar and not enough to sustain a society on. Like, that wouldn't be a good food staple. Eggplant would get into more sexual territory, which Brodigan likes to hang out in, so that we could find something there as well, for like phallic imagery. I don't think the watermelons matter to me. Like, he wanted an unusual material. It could have been any fruit. Yeah, it might have just been like an aesthetic choice, or like visually, like maybe he liked the idea of how this might look. And I don't know, just like the phrase watermelon sugar does, more so than like tangerine sugar or like a different fruit sugar. I wonder if it's like the texture of watermelon. I feel like a dense, coarse sort of sugar, like it's descriptive in that way. That sugar seems to have more weight than the sugar of other fruits for whatever reason. And I wonder if it is just like the tactile sensation of biting into a slice of watermelon. Was there a person there on the comment who reminded you of this author's style? No, I don't think so. The people were really cool. I mentioned the guy that was in his 50s. He had lived a long, interesting life, doing like just a bunch of other things. He would mostly just like bitch about NAFTA and talk about that as like the origin point for him, just like leaving general civilization, because he had been like an artisan, and he had been like a furniture maker, and just like coming at it from the labor perspective, like, oh, this threw everything into chaos. I no longer want any part of this general country. Like, I just want to go into the mountains and make things and grow things. And but yeah, I don't know. No one in particular reminded me of Richard Brodigan, I don't think. I agree. It sort of feels like he chose watermelon because that's a fruit that needs lots of sun, and the stories about the sugar is based on sun. So a fruit that likes sunny weather. Beyond that, I feel like the sugar medium didn't matter. That's another great point, because the sun comes into play, right? How the sun changes, and it is a fruit that we like. They all need sunlight, but that one in particular. Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe that's part of the origin for the choice of watermelons as well. I completely agree. That's what I mean. I feel like the work is hollow in ways. I don't feel like watermelons not mattering makes it hollow. It has a purpose in the story. Yeah, I think it is the difference. Like, do you need it? Do you need an explicit reason? Like, if it could have been anything else, I can see you feeling that that's detrimental to the work. But for me, and maybe Frederick and I think Silent Shelf, maybe a few other of us who felt more positively about it. If I can find meaning in it, yeah, I could supplant that choice with another fruit or food and make it work. And so like maybe it is arbitrary, but I found meaning there. And if I'm able to find meaning, whether or not the author intended it, then like I walk away from it feeling fulfilled on some level. I have my criticisms of the book, but on like those metrics, like I found something there. I had to do a lot of work as a reader, but I like, again, with like postmodern lit, like that's kind of the joy of it. Or like if you don't like it, that might be part of it, but I can get down with it, you know, like leaving a lot to me. And for me to, like, I thought about the book for some days, and actually the bit about like my experience on the commune, it came to me as like I was driving to work, like after I had read the book a couple days previously, and I was just thinking, it like popped into my head, and I had this connection, like maybe that's the watermelon, is like, because I remembered like driving out to that commune, wondering what I was gonna experience, and like having all these lofty ideals about what it might be like. And then I got there, and I went there because I thought, they told me, they said on the website, they had a little like rudimentary website, and they're like, yeah, we raise bees here. And I was like, I want to learn how to go raise bees. I want to have that experience. And I got there, I was like, oh yeah, we don't do the bees anymore. We stopped doing that like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, well, okay.
いらっしゃい Spotify プレイ
Broken ideals. Yes, at me. With a lack of understanding of, she died from a broken heart. Whoops. And the Pauline is the only one who seems to be like, Jesus Christ, she killed herself. And everyone is like, yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, the way that is, okay. Since we're on it, what page is that? Because it's near the end. It would be right before the... Let me check my notes. The way that her death is described by our narrator is so just detached. Page 364, I think. Is that around here, maybe? That's 385. 382. 376. Oh, not that far along. Okay, here. I should have put a warning on this stream. Like, there is some like subject matter that might be, you know, people might have, you know, strong reaction to, or like personal experience with. So this is the warning. Like, this book does deal with this current scene that I'm gonna talk about since it came up. We do have a character that hangs herself from the apple tree. So the description of this, it's just so matter of fact, you know? And it's like, I know he's moved on from her. He's with Pauline now, and he really, like, you can see it, like, just in how much it bugs him that she always, like, steps on the board leading to his shack. I also thought it was a really interesting... I liked how you flash back in the second book of the book, and you see that, like, the thing that he used to kind of be excited, like, when Margaret would step on that one loose board. Like, we have all these boards, and, like, she always manages to step on that one loose board and make a sound without fail. And sort of like the experience of, like, oh, the things that might have once, like, attracted you or excited you about this person that you, like, when love was young and early and new, become the things that you hate. It becomes an annoyance, you know? It's grating now when she steps on the board, like, oh, God, Margaret's here. I don't want to see her, you know? But, like, just you have that history still, even though you've ended up here and you're not in love with her anymore. It just doesn't really. Like, no one really does. Even her brother doesn't really feel like he's that impacted by her death. Watermelon is used in cooking. It is boiled down to make a solid material to be shaped as needed. That is the purpose. Something not having a purpose beyond that doesn't feel hollow to me. NAFTA. It works with the rest of the stuff in the book. I need to catch up a little here because we we have some new comments. Hey, Al Tyson, what's going on? Welcome. We're discussing, I do a monthly book club. I don't know if you knew that. So we read In Watermelon Sugar this month. And if you want to join, anyone hanging out, whether you read this book or not, and if you want to let me know right now, if you got to go at any point, let me know what you would like to read next month, and if you want to join it next month, because I have it pulled up here. I have a wheel. It still has the picks from last time. Oh, wait a second. Is this... Oh, there we go. Yeah, there it is. So we do have a wheel for, these are the books that got submitted for this month. So if anyone wants to nominate a book at any point, let me know, and I will put it on the list, put it on the wheel. We're going to spin it at the end of this discussion and decide what we're reading for June. But it's a benign treaty to drop out of society because of, well, if it was your trade, I mean, if you saw your industry destroyed by some of these free trade agreements, you know, and then I could see that, like everything you've built gone an instant, and yeah. I do agree that meaning as a reader is actually enough. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean make it invaluable at all. Yeah. Good ham. I read the whole thing and don't want to say any spoilers. This is about the whole book. We're in Spoiler Town. Yeah. We're going to talk about it, anything within the book. So, I thought you guys were only up to the second book. Oh, never mind. I'm dumb. No, yeah. Anything in Watermelon Sugar is fair game. I know we're jumping around a lot, like in terms of like the order of events, and I feel like for this one, I'm cool with that because like it's not like The Witcher where like it's a postmodern book, you know, it jumps around in time itself, and I feel like the things that like if we broke down the story, like what is there really? Like our protagonist wanders around, kind of gives you information about the society in which he lives. Trying to write this book, doesn't really have much to say about what he's writing. You flash back to his relationship with Margaret and her friendship, or at least like relationship with Inboyle, who's this sort of like disgruntled, I guess you would just say like was he working at iDeath? He was, right? Because he's bitching about like the way they're running it now. He withdraws from the society and sort of like gets followers, or at least people to come down there with him, and they just like make booze and stay drunk. And then there's a really nightmarish scene where like we know that they're going to come back up to iDeath and confront everyone, and it seems like it's going to get violent. I didn't know where it was going to go. I thought they were going to attack people, and then they show up and they just like cut themselves apart in front of everyone, like just cut off their fingers and noses and just kill themselves in front of everyone there, and it's really horrifying. And then and then we get Margaret hanging herself, and then we just kind of come back to the present, and society keeps moving on. Like there's not a whole lot of, like we do get little scenes of like the narrator's parents were like eaten in front of him by the tigers, which there used to be tigers and they could speak and they were sentient intelligent beings. Still not sure if we're supposed to have like treated them like they are actual anthropomorphized tigers, or like some other race of beings that are called the tigers by the people living in this world, because they don't understand it, or they misunderstand it, or that's just the word they use. But anyway, they've all been killed off now, so the tigers are no longer extant. But the tigers did actually eat humans to stay alive. They had to. We were told that like they needed to eat us to survive. So they behave like tigers in a lot of ways. This is specifically for In Watermelon Sugar, not the first two. Yeah. No, you're not dumb. I might not have made it totally clear also, like the extent of the discussion. So yeah, the full book, all plot points. I do put it in the Discord server. Like, I break it down throughout the month of, like... Yeah, I need to catch up, sorry. Let me do that. Like, what to have read by what point. You don't have to do that, but then, like, anyone who wants to share points up to that date can do that. So no one gets spoiled. But by the time we do the stream, like, full book. Hey, PM, what's going on? Hey, June, what book y'all doing this month? We did In Watermelon Sugar by Richard Brodigan. He loved it when they were together, though. Yeah, that's what... I thought that was a really good point, right? The thing that you once loved about this person, when you've moved on, like, the love has been lost, now it's an annoyance. Gosh, she's stepping on the board. You used to love when she stepped on the board. I mean, she was heading your way. You're going to see her. It was exciting. Love you and your wheels. I do. I love a good wheel. I need to get this off the screen. Maybe that's what the Switch was about. I would like to point out that the concept of eye death is something I found paradoxical and intentional. I'm a person with a lot of fear of my own mortality, and the combination of I, the self-I, immediately attached to death, unnerving. That, Watership Down? Hell yeah. Ooh, you know what? Check this out. My sister sent me this for Christmas, since it's a book I love, and she found this, and I haven't looked at it yet because it was this past Christmas. I haven't read it, but maybe I could take a look at this. A graphic novel version of Watership Down. Have you read this, V Games? V Games is a huge fan of Watership Down. The way I looked at eye death, maybe I should scroll down and see. Oh, is the music too loud? Okay, let's take this down. How's that? And Emissary, what's going on? Welcome. The way I looked at eye death was, again, like, yeah, I was on a commune, and I was talking about how it was like, it was constant socialization, which I'm not used to, and I didn't care for it. It's like, yeah, a commune is the death of the I in a lot of ways, like the individual. Like, you lose, I don't want to say you lose your individuality, like, everyone's still an individual, you know what I mean? But it is much more like thinking in terms of the group, and you're constantly surrounded by others. So, like, everything, I was thinking, like all of your, I don't know, like, I'm like a much more, like, I enjoy alone time. So, like, for me, it was like, I just don't have time to, like, sort of calm down at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And, like, just sort of withdraw from everything. So I felt like it was not the death of the I, but, like, I need my I, and I don't have my usual amount of I here in this living situation. Anyway, like, I was thinking about that in the terms of, like, why call it I death? Like, because it's a commune, and it's now the group in a lot of ways. It's less about the I. About what Silent Shelf said, the women really are the only ones with any depth. Margaret visits the Forgotten Works. Yeah, right. She's the only one in the whole book is curious about things. Clearly has an inner world deeper than good ham. Yeah, exactly. She's the only one. It reminded me of, like, when I was in college, and there was a class that we were, because I did religious studies, and we were going through the Bible. It was like feminist readings of the Bible, and it was a reading of Eve that, like, you know, a lot of times it's like Eve is, I mean, the sin, you know, tempting Adam or whatever. And it's like, no. How about this reading of Eve? She's going out and is actively inquisitive about the world around her and is seeking knowledge. Isn't that a very admirable aspect? Like, Adam's just content to just be and just accept what he's been told. Eve wants to go out and find out for herself. Reminds me of that. It's like everyone else just sort of, like, takes everything as it is. Like, we just eat the good ham and just, you know, boil the watermelons and just live. And even, like, In Boyle and everyone else down there, like, they're just making booze. They're not actually exploring and trying to understand the past and more about the world. Margaret's the only one who is. Also, I'm going to put Watership Down on here before I forget. Okay. I also like how the letters are inverse capitalization, like I is lowercase and death is upper. It feels like it intentionally places the importance on death rather than the self. Good point. And then in boil with his name, I feel like it was simply representing his inner turmoil. That's how I kind of read it as well, the boiling inside of him. Yeah, because he's just full of anger and resentment. The wonders of NAFTA. You ever have a class where they try to propagandize you about NAFTA? Because in 6th grade, they tried that with me. Yeah, I remember having a teacher that was just like, basically like saying, in as many words, like if you're against free trade, you're just stupid. Like it's just the natural order of the world. Like trying to be against it is like trying to be against like natural processes. Like, no. And then Pauline is about to say something probably thoughtful about the funeral, and bam, the sun is up and the world is silent. And she is silenced once again. That's a good point. I kind of read past that without dwelling on that part of that scene. But by the environment from the sun, and not even the men this time, it's just like, God, classic freaky toxic masculinity that just surrounds her, even when it wasn't the men's fault this time. I mean, if you're looking at like sun, right, versus moon, the masculine versus the feminine, like in terms of like that kind of imagery or associations, like historically associations there, then you kind of still, that fucking toxically masculine sun. It's a great point. There's an obvious visual pattern there. The upsetting part is given more importance. I also like the frozen ice thumb he finds in the Forgotten Works, and how it only melts the narrator's hands and not on the ground or in the sun. It's an omen of what is to come with them starting their weird performance of cutting off their thumbs and noses. Yeah, that is such a horrifying scene. It's not the Life of Pi scene where the guy spells out the metaphor for you, huh? Or what's the is it The Alchemist? What's that book? Yeah. I always found that story really ridiculous. Because he goes on this journey. It's like, oh, the treasure was like in front of me the whole time. It was a metaphorical treasure, not a literal treasure. You know? It's like all the things that I neglected in pursuit of this physical treasure, but now I've realized what the treasure was the whole time, and then he gets back into his actual literal treasure as well. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know about the music. Is it good now? I do kind of look like I'm sunburnt today. It's really just the filter. I put a pretentious filter on the stream today. Do we feel more literary because of it? Watership Down does get pretty brutal. Yeah. That's beautiful. I have the first edition, but no, I haven't read the graphic novel. I haven't either. I haven't taken a look at it yet. I would love to have a reason to. I haven't read Watership Down in a very long time. Just the etymology of co versus in, commune versus individual is worth pointing out. Yep. Yeah, good point. There's definitely a lot here with communes. And it's funny, like, going into Richard Brautigan's personal history, like, it appears like he did not like hippies, even though that's where most of his work's popularity was, which is funny. And I think that's why, like, a tragic end to his life. He took his own life, and lapsed into sort of like depression, despondency at the end of it. And it seems to be like, I have just given this a cursory read, like his life events, but it seemed like his work had fallen back out of popularity in his final years, and that might have, I don't know, had some influence. And that would be tough. Like, the only people who like my work, I don't really like them as people. Like, I don't like this social movement, but they're the only ones who buy my books. And even they've kind of like, the world's moved on from them as well. Like, the world is changing. And I'm just not relevant anymore. My, like, literary style is out of fashion. It's out of date. The beats, like, that period is over. They did that to me in elementary school with NAFTA. Yeah, I think a lot of us get that kind of propagandized education. I saw I Death as being about the death of the self. Yeah, I think we all had the same reading on that. Again, we get back to women, and in Boyle, most of the characters in the book act a bit like a hive. They hate in Boyle, they hate Margaret, they don't interrogate why they feel that way. The only one who questions it is Pauline, and the only one who acts outside of the group is Margaret. And you know what? That's a really good point. I just realized, like, Pauline is the one, our narrator is enamored with her before he even knows who she is, because he goes on walks at night because he can't sleep, and he finds her out there with the lantern. She's the one. It turns out, like, Pauline is the one that also walks at night. And once she is romantically involved with the narrator, she stops walking. So it's like all of her motivation or her desire to just go out and explore the world sort of vanishes as she becomes like tied to him romantically. But then again, the narrator is also a walker. So if we're gonna like to read that as like a more individualistic, like positive character attribute, then I guess we have to grant that to our narrator as well. I guess maybe it's the motivation behind the walk. Like, our narrator just can't sleep. I don't know if there's anything deeper than that going on there. Whereas like in Pauline, I want to read that there is. Feminist reading of the Bible, oh boy, that's a hell of a deconstruction. It was really interesting. I'd never thought of like Eve that way. It was sort of like a, I don't know, like it kind of went in a long line of things like, yeah, there's so much I take for granted of like how to read these events, because it's sort of like ingrained in the public consciousness of like as an archetype of what it's supposed to represent, that you kind of lose the ability or don't even think to just like explore it, what else it might possibly represent. Someone would disagree with that. Look into Hildegard von Bingen. I don't know if I know who this is. Let's find out. Oh. The founder of scientific natural history in Germany. Visionary mystic and composer. Okay. Sorry, what was that in, like, I'm behind. Let me catch up. But what was that in reference to specifically? Oh God, The Alchemist. We did in 12th grade. I hated that book. Yeah, I'm not exactly a fan. Literally talks to God and he spells it out for him. Yeah, I had some friends that were like really like, they would talk about that book like, oh my God, it was so like, it was a life-changing reading experience. And I got to it, I was like, I don't know. I guess it's got like a nice moral, but then again, it spells it out in such an obvious way, and then like shies away from the metaphorical aspect by like making it literal. Like, I don't know. It's like, I guess it's a book for babies. I'm sorry. It's a book for babies. Totally. Also because in boil, like he only boils inside and isn't boiling sugar like the rest of them. In fact, he uses the stuff that they don't care about, forgotten things, which I think are just everyday objects before the apocalypse or whatever got them there. Then he makes whiskey from that instead of useful things from boiling watermelon sugar. Yeah. Yeah, I was really interested about like the difference between like in boils, like there's only like a couple characters that even want to deal with the past in any explicit way, and most of them just want to get drunk on it and not understand it, right? Just boil things down. Margaret's the only one who actually wants to understand and discover. 12th grade English teacher was insufferable. She tried to hawk The Secret to us, if everyone remembers that. Oh, that is vaguely familiar. I don't know if I read it, though. Then had us read The Alchemist, which after the Secret cult stuff was even dumber. That's like Thoreau. Wants to go back to nature away from people, and then people follow him to nature. Yeah. Well, good news. The hippies betrayed all their values in a decade anyway, so I guess he got what he wanted. Yeah. I think that's what that was part of it, right? Like he was still writing and it's like, oh yeah, this book really hit at a moment where like, yeah, people were thinking about communes and like, you know, free expression of love and withdrawing from like general civilization, you know, living, like seeking these kinds of lives for themselves. And then kind of just moved on from that and, you know, went and got office jobs. Played the game. Didn't read Brodigan anymore. And it's like he didn't really want them to read it anyway. I don't know. I shouldn't attach that to him, but he didn't seem to be a fan of his fan base. It's like, all right, well, you might miss the book sales though. The imagery of the lantern at night is one of the readings that stuck out to me as Psychopomp: A Guidance to Death. I like that scene. I don't remember where that was in the book exactly. But I liked the image. I liked a lot of imagery in this book. There's some very, very good scenes of just his reminiscing about the tigers eating his parents in front of him, or like the way they bury their dead and they like glow like with this like luminescent. I'm trying to remember, what do they put down within the, there's some kind of foliage with like bioluminescence that glows at night. The narrator also goes to the Forgotten Works. That and the walks, the trying, and maybe failing to write a book, failing to make a statue. He almost has an inner world, but rejects it and just joins the hive. Yeah, you see, like, he's a little bit more, he wants more than just, like, talking about Ham, but then again, it's like, he desires to be an artisan, but he has no, like, motivating force or idea. Like, he wants to make a statue. What is the statue of? It goes nowhere. He just kind of, like, goes and chips away at it for a couple hours a day, but he doesn't know what he wants it to be. You know, what is he writing it about? Like at the end, like the final words that make you think like you just read the book that he was writing, like, okay, so there was more depth there then. It was about something. But until that point throughout the book, you get the sense like he wants to write a book. He wants to have written a book, really. He doesn't want to write it. He wants to have written something, but he doesn't really know what it should be about. He has no reason to be writing. He doesn't really have anything to share or impart. It's like the sense of his character that I was getting. Yes, he's also like so close to being more like Pauline and Margaret by questioning the world, yet he keeps himself stuck. He's so close to going outside of his own world, but then he doesn't. Even when the tigers kill his parents, he's almost upset about it. But the tigers are like, don't worry, we will tell you a story. And he's like, oh, no thanks, but help me with math. There's a reason I had a negative reaction to this book, and it's not about communes. It's about my experience with incarceration, but I'm not going to elaborate much. Don't feel any need to. If you want to share a little bit more about like what specifically in the book contributed to that, but yeah, feel no need. I also find it interesting that they all have shacks, and he's like, oh, I own 21 objects or whatever, all super simple and specific objects, and that's all he needs. But then Margaret, her room is absolutely filled with stuff. The rooms nearly reflect their inner world. Yeah, that's a great experience of being an author in general, wanting to write or have written but being uninspired. Yeah, I think about that line. I think it was Neil Gaiman describing Terry Pratchett. And he's like, some authors want to have written. Terry Pratchett is always someone that, like, to me, encapsulated the joy of the act of writing. That's a writer who likes to write. And you can feel it in the words. You can feel it on the page. And my experience reading Pratchett, yeah. I think I have that right. I think that's Gaiman talking about Pratchett. I'm just going to look, see if I had... I made a lot of notes, but a lot of it is, like, very... kind of trivial or like specific things. Page 274. I think I really found the tigers memorable. Like the idea of this predator, this intelligent being that lives alongside the commune, the society, and has to like predate upon them to survive. And like, so they want to defend themselves and are just killing them off. But then now that they've killed the last tiger and now this species is extinct, there's like I don't know if you call it like looking at the past through like rose-colored glasses or whatever. There's a nostalgia for like when the predators were still around. Like none of these people would actually want to return to those times. If they found a tiger, they would kill them again. But like absent now the danger, they can just imbue it with like this like romanticized view of the predator because it's no longer an active danger that they have to fend off. You know? And there's a sadness there. because they accept that like they've killed off this entire intelligent species that was capable of like conversation with them, right? Also, Stephen King is a good example, but he really is too pompous for me to give him too much credit. I think, yeah, I want to say, like, when you get to writers who just, you let them go and they will turn in a 1,200-page manuscript. You know what I mean? The Stand and It and a lot of those books are, like, so long that, like, yeah, he just loves doing the thing, you know? You'd have to just, like, explore your characters and events to such great detail. It's weird to me that the hunters kill the final tigers, but then the town is very upset that the last one is gone. And then In Boyle is saying how no one cared. It's very strange in one part of the book. I still don't know what to think. I found that to be just, like, very representative of, like, modern humanity, where it's like from afar, we have a very romanticized view of tigers, wolves, endangered species. We want to protect them, but if we were living alongside them, like we were in more primitive ages, where like, no, there's no romanticizing the thing. I mean, there might be a respect for it, for nature, but like, absent the danger, we're more able to like romanticize these things, right? And have a sense of like longing for like the world that's past, that we have changed, like we have shaped this modern world and have driven nature from so many places. But like, it's easy to say that, and like, what if the tiger's like prowling around your camp and eating your parents in front of you? Do you still romanticize it, or does a more primal instinct kick in, a survival instinct? Also, how is it that they know that the tiger is gone? Like, can we know as readers, but are tigers for sure gone, or does it even matter? Is it just about their impression that they're gone? I think ads are here. I think I meant to snooze those. Are those going? I don't know. I mean, all you really know is like these characters' small little world, and they don't even understand what's like immediately around them, right? And you don't really know what else is out there. But to them, yeah, if that's your entire world and you don't even seek to understand what's around you, then they might as well just be extinct. Our characters don't know any different. Also, the tiger says 9 times 9 is 81, and this is 8 times 8 is 56, which is wrong. Yeah, I was wondering about that too. It's like, okay, they I did make a note of that. The tiger gets like the first one right and the second one wrong. So like, because we are like told repeatedly, like they're intelligent beings, but then they are still lacking, or I don't know what's going on with that. That has to be intentional. Yeah, I thought of it as intentional. I noted too, but I don't have any input. Maybe the inventory is unimportant. Yeah, I wonder if it's like they're intelligent but they have like other priorities, or like their world doesn't revolve around like arbitrary trivia and knowledge. It's like, yeah, mathematics is not arbitrary and trivial, but if it's just memorizing your times tables and then you're not applying it to anything, then it is. Then it's just like knowing it for the sake of knowing it. Like, are you actually utilizing that information to help you navigate this world, or is it just like, I know my times tables, quiz me, I'll show you how fast I can be, with just like recalling rote memorization. Ads are rolling. I need to take a 1-minute break. I'll be right back, and we'll continue the discussion for a little bit longer, or maybe a lot longer. We'll just see how it goes. So yeah, 1 minute. Be right back. Thanks everybody for hanging around. Like, I get math problems wrong all the time. Just a very normal thing. That's true. I feel like, I don't know. I was assuming there's more of a conscious choice, though, than just like, but maybe that does humanize them. Just like, oh yeah, they're intelligent and they get shit wrong just like we do. Get it wrong with confidence. I'll help you with your math. 8 times 8 is 56. You're welcome. Could be an allegory for the guy who had the horse that could do math and would stamp his feet for the answer, but then they just found out the horse was able to read the owner's expression that he wanted to stamp more. It could be to humanize them. No, I'm just joking, so ignore me. I'm not familiar with that story. That's funny. I wonder if it grounds the tigers in a way, like they are nearly thought of as almost godlike, but then they're actually quite imperfect. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that until now. If that's the case, that's very funny. Like, that's an additional layer of, like, we have all these characters romanticizing the tigers after the fact and imbuing them with, like, mythical, godlike significance, you know? It's like, no, they're just another being, you know, just living here, just like us. They got shit wrong. Just trying to make their way. There's nothing, like, of, like, cosmic importance about them. They're just another life form, like all of us. Like, we shouldn't be deifying them. We should just allow them to exist. Yeah, I don't know if my multiplication table by heart. If I was a tiger, I might get things wrong. It'd be harder to count on your fingers as a tiger. Good point. It's a quick way to show they are capable, but also capable of mistakes. Yeah. 8 times 8 is a bit embarrassing, though. That is a memorable one, you know? In fact, if we use that interpretation, that's actually really great writing. I can't think of a more efficient way to show that a being is intelligent but imperfect. Yeah. But maybe I think 8 times 8 is embarrassing because of my experience with the computers. 8 and 16 comes... Or 8 and 16 times x comes up regularly in my life. Oh, really? Yeah, no, my 8s as well from coding. Oh, interesting. Foxfire. Foxfire. I was looking for the, what they put in the tombs. What page was that? 309. 309. Where are we now? Yeah, I like this image. I sat down on a couch by the river. There was a statue of grass beside the couch. The blades were made from copper. That's the other thing. Like, all the statues are like, they're just like grass, potato, just stuff like that. Like, people want to make art, but they don't really know what to make their art about. So they just like represent the things that they see. And there doesn't seem to be any like deeper exploration of like, or like, they don't seem to be representative of anything. It's just like, it's a potato because potatoes. You know, we made a statue of the potato. There it is. The blades were made from copper and had been turned to their natural color by the rain weight of years. There were 4 or 5 guys putting in the tomb. They were the tomb crew. The tomb was being put into the bottom of the river. That's how we bury our dead here. Of course, we used a lot less tombs when the tigers were in bloom. But now we bury them all in glass coffins at the bottoms of rivers and put foxfire in the tombs, so they glow at night and we can appreciate what comes next. That image sticks with me. What would have Abraham Lincoln thought of this? Oh wait, Bits and Bytes all comes in 8s and 16s. Okay, yeah. You ever try Pico 8? I also like how they treat their dead. Super cool. And then the statues sink in the same waters. Yeah. You never even heard of it? Pretty much everything on a PC can be divided by 8. 8 bits are a byte. 1024 bytes is a kilobyte. 1024 kilobytes is a megabyte, etc. If you like computers, you'll love this. It's a fantasy console. I'll link it later. Yeah, you should. Are you still working regularly with that? V-Games was doing a lot of stuff with Pico 8 and was working on a book. I don't know if that's still... Are you still working on that project, or did you move on to something else? If you got any projects or anything you want to link to, by the way, feel free. V-Games. V-Games dabbles in a lot of different things. Always working on something cool. Yeah, I think I'm looking at my notes, like a lot of stuff I brought up, like In Boyle getting drunk on history, Margaret stepping on the board. 339. Let's see. What's over there? Oh, I think my only note was like, I love this section. I guess this is, yeah. I just thought it was great writing. Because we talked about it a little bit earlier. About the walks at night, right? I climbed up a ladder on one of the columns and sat on the edge of the aqueduct, up about 20 feet with my legs dangling over the edge. I sat there for a long time without thinking about anything or noticing anything anymore. I didn't want to. The night was passing with me sitting on the aqueduct. Then I saw a lantern far away and moving out of the piney woods. The lantern came down a road and then crossed over bridges and went through watermelon patches and stopped sometimes by the road, first this road and then that road. I knew who the lantern belonged to. It was in the hand of a girl. I had seen her many times before walking at night over the years, but I'd never seen the girl up close, and I didn't know who she was. I knew she was sort of like me. Sometimes she had trouble sleeping at night. It always comforted me when I saw her out there. I'd never tried to find out who she was by going after her or even telling anyone about seeing her at night. She was in a strange way mine, and it comforted me to see her. I thought she was very pretty, but I didn't know what color hair she had. I'm really happy to be having a discussion about the book. I haven't had someone to talk to about it before. Did you just, maybe you told me, I'm sorry if you did. How did you first read it? Was it something assigned to you in a class, or did you just have it like recommended to you, or just stumble upon it by sheer chance? The book is on hiatus because the creator of the Pico 8 has not released the final version yet, and for a long time he wasn't updating it, but then he started updating it a lot, and I can't in good conscience release the book until he either stops again or releases a 1.0. Yeah, that makes sense. However, I keep it all up to date in a massive private GitHub repo with the book being stored as a wiki for now. Cool. Let us know if it ever gets to a finished state, so we can share it. I'd like to check it out and see more about what it's all about. I don't really have a good understanding of it. I just haven't really had the time yet to delve into something new recently. It also shows his love, at least to me, is quite superficial. Yeah, just this final line, because I really like the image of this scene and like the kind of longing that it communicates, and it's like, she's very pretty. I didn't know what color her hair was. Just, yeah. Maybe not a whole lot of depth there. But I like that our narrator, like, I think I called him a nothing earlier, and he's not. He's something, especially compared to some of the others around him. But I just love this idea of a character that, like, really doesn't have much to say about anything. Is kind of superficial and is just, like, sort of content in ignorance a lot of times. But does have this, like, occasional, like, flare-up of, I desire more. I want to make something, create something, but I just have fucking nothing to say. You know? I didn't really notice this when reading, but this is one of the few times he really thinks about anything on the aqueduct seeing this woman. Yeah, very true, and it turns into love for him. I had seen some of his poems before and liked them, so I sought out his books. Oh, okay. What were the poems you liked? Does that mean he couldn't see her hair? Like, it was covered or she was bald? I think just like in the darkness, he could sort of like see the outline of her face, like maybe from the glow of the lantern, but like couldn't really tell like the specific hue of the color, or the specific hue of the hair, like what color it was. I read it as him being superficial, not really seeing her. Oh yeah, I think because it was dark and she was out in the distance. I thought that as well, but I don't know. I wonder if it's almost like reining in the statement. I think she's pretty, but I don't know what color her hair is. I'm into blondes. If it's not blonde, maybe I don't think she's pretty. You know? Jury's still out. Jury's still adjusting their glasses, squinting, trying to decide what they think. Yeah, okay, this... We're going to have to highlight a very horrifying, violent scene. Still going, huh? Okay, well. I'm not paying Spotify. I'm not paying for it. I'm sorry. So this is when Invoil and his crew come back to Ideth and dismember themselves. Just like this scene, aside from just like the pure visual violence of these characters just like cutting off their thumbs and noses, cutting themselves apart, just like bleeding out until like it's Pauline, right? That grabs the mop, just like mopping up all their blood. To me, the even more horrifying thing, and it's very like Lynchian, this sort of just like weird, not quite non sequiturs, but just like weird dialogue that like no person would process this moment in this way. Where was the line? Maybe I'll just start reading through it. Yeah, it's here. I'll show you, Invoil said. He pulled the blade out. It looked sharp. This is Ideth, he said, and took the knife and cut off his thumb and dropped it into a tray filled with trout just barely hatched. The blood started running down his hand and dripping on the floor. Then all of Invoil's gang took out jackknives and cut off their thumbs and dropped their thumbs here and there in this tray, that pond, until there were thumbs and blood all over the place. The one who didn't know where he was said, "Where do I cut off my thumb?" Or no, when do I cut off my thumb? Right now, somebody said. So he cut off his thumb, unevenly because he was so drunk. He did it in such a way that there was still a part of the fingernail fastened to his hand. "Why have you done this?" Charlie said. "It's only a beginning," Invoil said. "This is what Ideth should really look like." "Y'all look silly," Charlie said, "without your thumbs." Like that, just that line, that response. And it's like that kind of stuff. It's so alienating to me. You know what I mean? Like, these are not humans that are responding to events in like any sort of recognizably human way to me. I actually think it's a really good sentence. Yeah, I do too. I highlighted that. Like, I didn't have any deep insights or thoughts on it. I just really liked the image that it conjured. The first poem I read of his was The Pumpkin Tide. Oh, I just read that one. I think it's just like, we can pull it up here. We can talk about a couple of his poems after the book. I saw thousands of pumpkins last night. Oh, you have it. Yeah, come floating in on the tide, bumping up against the rocks and rolling up on the beaches. It must be Halloween in the sea. Do you like that one? Do you just like the image of the pumpkins floating in? I found that with a lot of the poems that like I didn't like. I have to be honest, I didn't care for that one too much. But that's what I mean. Like, even when I don't like it, it does conjure up a very strong image at times. And like, that one doesn't really speak to me, but then there are a couple of others that are very similar to that poem that do. And it's just like the specifics of the image, I think. But he does have a way of just like really giving you something to visualize. I was a bit pressed on time, but I finished the book 10 minutes before the stream, so I will have to reread it. I'm sure I missed some things. I appreciate you reading it to join in. Listen, real quick, I have to say that the font you're reading this in gives me an entirely different feeling than the font that I read it in. Yeah? It's not ideal. Can I change the font on Kindle? Is that an ability I have? Yeah. What did you read it in? How about this? The one who didn't know where he was said, "When do I cut off my thumb?" "Right now," somebody said. So he cut off his thumb unevenly because he was so drunk. Womp womp. He did it in such a way that there was still a part of the fingernail fastened to his hand. Classic. I read in sans serif small size. So we need something without it. What typeface was it that doesn't have serifs? Cecilia? Helvetica? Lucida? There was one part of this that really bothered me. So he cut off his thumb unevenly because he was so drunk. He did it in such a way that there was still a part of the fingernail fastened to his hand. The way it's described just makes my skin crawl. Me too. Me too, because then it's even worse than like just telling me that like he cut it at like an angle, like leaving so much to my imagination. Like I have to piece together like, wait, he cut his thumb off, but the fingernail is still attached. So that means he would have to go up like that. Oh my God. You know, it makes you, like so many things in this book, it leaves so much in the mind of the reader to like, you figure out what this means to you or what you see given these words, but I'm not going to spell it out for you. I'm going to give you a lot of agency and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, you're making me piece together like how they cut themselves up in this way, and I have to dwell on it for a little bit longer because of it, and it really just hits all the more viscerally. Pauline saying you're an asshole right before he dies is the one part of the book that actually makes me tear up. I'm like, God, here you are cleaning up all the blood and all this mess, and you're the only one who's really getting how horrifying this is. It just makes me feel like she is so alone in this commune. I like the imagery of that poem and how stupidly simple the conclusion is. I get that. That whole scene shows that the gang discusses it before this occurred, and the one guy doesn't remember what to do, which makes me think it's a commentary on like motorcycle club gang behavior. Yeah, it is. Again, I find it very Lynchian in a lot of ways, and I should call Lynch Brodiganian. Because just like in his films, and I just go back to it because I'm such a big fan, but like there's always like such horrific, unsettling, alienating scenes like that where we might be watching really horrific events transpire, and then like our characters on screen just aren't emoting in a normal way. They process it in such a strange way, and then there's sometimes like actual like comic relief or like a hint of like the whimsical or like a punchline almost in this horrific moment. But it's almost like drowned out by the horror, but you can like still see the like the sketches, the outline of like a joke or like something that might play as like physical comedy in like a slapstick comedy movie or something, and like it makes it even more strange and unsettling, the fact that that's there in the midst of this horror. So just like, I don't know, if you like change the details about this, you know, and it wasn't just like people cutting off their thumbs, but something else, and like the one guy fucks it up because he's so drunk, like there's like a hint of comedy there, but it's not comedic in this moment, right? It's just purely horrifying. Saravec, should we check that out? Do I have that on? Let's see. Doesn't seem like that's an option here, just given their stock options. Unless we got another one. Did you list some others? Helvetica New or Lexand? Let's try that. Oh, I don't. This is how you prefer it, huh? I don't have Lexand either. You prefer this font? How does everyone feel? I like serifs. I don't know. This feels to me, I don't know, too sparse and like modern. I mean, it's like a postmodern book. I don't know. The only correct choice is Courier New. We don't got it. We don't got it. We only have what Amazon provides. What about Amazon Ember Bold? Oh my god. Ugh. This is worse than the thumb cut off scene. This is worse. Read it in Wingdings. I kind of still... I feel like we should read it like this. All right, man. Off with your ears. You know, it'd be so easy. Pauline really is the only human in that scene, and maybe the Inboil guys. Can you read the part where Pauline starts to clean the mess there? Yeah, let's actually just stop it. Is this what I was on? I don't even know. This might be right. Now I feel like I don't like this anymore. I don't know if I ever did. I don't remember really choosing a font, but I guess I did because this isn't stock. Georgia. No, not that. I think it's the option I like best currently. I don't know. Okay. Inboil was still up and cutting fingers off his hands. This is eye death, he said. Oh boy, this is really eye death. Finally, he had to sit down too so he could bleed to death. They were all on the floor now. I hope you think you proved something, Charlie said. I don't think you proved anything. We proved eye death, Inboil said. Pauline suddenly started to leave the room. I went over to her, almost slipping on the blood and falling down. Are you all right? I said, not knowing quite what to say. Can I help you? No, she said on her way out. I'm going to go get a mop and clean this mess up. When she said mess, she looked directly at Inboil. She left the hatchery and came back shortly with a mop. They were almost all dead now, except for Inboil. She was still talking about eye death. See, we've done it, he said. Pauline started mopping up the blood and wringing it into a bucket. When the bucket was almost full of blood, Inboil died. I am eye death, he said. You're an asshole, Pauline said. And the last thing that Inboil ever saw was Pauline standing beside him, wringing his blood out of the mop into the bucket. Honestly, that whole scene reads like Mass Effect background dialogue. Yet the narrator says how she doesn't act how a woman should in the scene and gets angry and he is shocked by this. That whole Last of Us dynamic dialogue thing that wasn't quite ready, but they put it in the game anyway. No, it was default? Okay. Obviously the only correct choice. Yeah, okay, so I did jump around a little bit. I caught a couple messages out of order. I think I misread V's message. Oh, did I? The ebook chooses, but I have added custom ones? Okay, I figured you did. I read the book in Wingdings. Ebooks are zip files with a lot of different capabilities, and one is the inclusion of fonts. Not important, but just a little info. Lots of things are zips in disguise. Yeah, I should look into that maybe for the next stream. I pulled it up this way just for the ease of like being able to share it, like share my screen, and then also like putting it in dark mode, having that ability. So it's just not getting like flash banged by a very bright PDF. Yeah, very visceral, affecting, and memorable scene. With the violence and just like how alienated I feel as a reader, seeing how like the characters respond to it. I guess I did.
多分だよ。多分だけど。
多分ミュートしましょう。Yeah. This one, I guess this is getting back to the idea of like our narrator and like just the desire to make art and having nothing to impart. Everything is reflected in the statue of mirrors. If you stand there long enough and empty your mind of everything else but the mirrors, and you must be careful not to want anything from the mirrors. They just have to happen. An hour or so passed as my mind drained out. Some people cannot see anything in the statue of mirrors, not even themselves. Then I could see Ideath and the town and the Forgotten Works and the rivers and fields and the piney woods and the ballpark and the watermelon works. And I feel like this is kind of what we're getting at. It's like most of the society is just like good ham, more stew. We don't really have much else that we're really thinking about. And even our narrator here, like it takes time. And then ultimately, what is our narrator able to see? Just like the things around him, like that is the big revelation. But there's not really any depth of like, what meaning do I derive from this? It's just like, I'm just watching events. And I guess maybe that, if this is ultimately the book he's writing is what we're reading, that's why so much is left to us as readers. Like, this is the story of someone who wanted to chronicle what they were seeing and had a desire to be more and do more than just like exist, but ultimately just didn't really have much to say or like didn't have many thoughts to impart. And that's like kind of contributing to like the sparseness of the description and the strangeness of the world and why things are left unexplained, because we are like being delivered a narrative by a generally uninquisitive person who never sought to understand like what were the tigers, what were the Forgotten Works, how does all this work, why is it the way that it is. Our narrator doesn't know, so we don't know. I bet those ads are over. I use Apple Books because my iPad is nice for reading. What service are you using for the music? This is Spotify. Yeah. I just went searching for like license-free, royalty-free jazz instrumental music for content creators is what we're listening to today. Pirating is easier? Yeah. You're wondering that too? This part gave me many thoughts. Food is also a motif of sorts in this book. So much happens around food and brings them all together for the most part, but also drives them away from Margaret. Yeah, I like that one of like the pivotal. It's like Pauline spooning in a little extra stew at dinner, and I think I don't remember what page. I don't think I highlighted this, but everyone's just like they all knew what that means, and they all kind of like nodded it and like they were happy to see what was going on. Like a little extra stew. Y'all know what that means. I feel like this part is an intentional and literary equivalent of something like a fogged up mirror. We are only able to see as much as our narrator reveals, and our narrator is also either unwilling or unable to see through the fog in the mirror metaphorically. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. That's a good way to. It's a very smart way to put it. The whole time after Margaret was introduced, I wanted her to be the POV character. Yeah. Wait, did you read the message but skip the one he was replying to? I don't know. Sorry, what were these in reference to? Was it a reply to you? I might have lost it. Was it before the font discussion? Or did I miss you replying to it? Yeah, sorry, I think I kind of lost the thread there. I asked what music service you were using. Oh, yeah, I did answer that. I said I was using Spotify. The playlist is royalty-free jazz instrumental music for content creators. No, you're fine. I know the book hit for you in a way that was not positive, but has this conversation changed any of your thoughts about it? Yeah, are we changing any minds today? $3.72. I think I had a question here. Ooh, yeah. So this is after they've taken down Margaret's body. Let's see. Or did I want to highlight? They went off to the trout hatchery. Fred went with them, and so did old Chuck and Al and Bill. I stayed behind with my arm around Pauline. She was still crying. I guess she really liked Margaret. And like, I read that line, and a lot of like the things that you might highlight are like the interactions with others, but this is just like internal monologue. You know, this is like just the narrative voice. And so like, oh, he really just is that dense. Right? Like, I don't know. Like, is he willfully oblivious? Or is it like I don't know. Is he like, does he on some level feel guilty about like the role I mean, it's not his fault, you know, in terms of like, yeah, he fell in love with someone else. And, but does he feel guilt on some level and is shying away from it, or just like rejecting? Like, I guess I keep coming back to like his lack of depth. How much of it is intentional? Because he does seek out knowledge, and he does want to make art. Like, he desires from time to time, but then like he just doesn't explore that aspect of himself. He doesn't like ever like take the origin point of an idea and then like explore it. I guess she really liked Margaret. What, you just took her body down? What do you mean? She's crying and you're not. And okay, everyone processes it differently, but like, do you truly not understand why she's crying? Or like, I guess you really like Margaret, man, I don't know. She's just crying about this whole thing, you know? Or like, to me, is it like, I keep recognizing the alienation in these scenes of like In Boyle and just like the general society of like, no one is connecting with the emotional part of themselves. So is it someone like, are we meant to like maybe have a lot of sympathy and empathy for this character who like does desire it, but like he lives in a society where it is so abnormal to emote or explore these ideas or parts of yourself or human experience? Like, they have like really limited the range of feeling that they express to one another and seek to explore. And so this is like an emotionally stunted person who didn't really ever have a chance to be any other way because of the society in which he was born into and raised within. Oh yeah, I mean, my feelings are something I can't really talk about but this discussion is absolutely improving the way I perceive it going forward. I'm not going to be around for when the gameplay starts, but I engage in book conversation whenever I can. I appreciate you engaging in it. Although the book seems to suffer from the perspective it's written. Yeah. But I think like thematically, like a lot of the things that I was left with upon finishing the book, I feel like were strengthened by like I recognize, like I liked the sort of, I keep using it, but like that Lynchian or like alienating, horrifying, I like it communicated that well, and so like everything seemed to bolster that reading of it, that feeling. So it's effective for that, but if that's not working for you as a reader, then it would just be another like just negative attribute of the book and the writing style. It was also noteworthy how the brother puts the trout necklace around Margaret's neck before the burial. So weird. It's like a final attempt to attach her to the commune that she clearly just so naturally strays from. Putting the necklace clasp around her neck just feels like a final blow. Meant to be a sweet brotherly gesture, but God, I wish the necklace had stayed off her. Yeah, it's just like nobody gets it. Nobody understood her, right? They look at it as like a tragic, like she had a broken heart, and man, we know deep down she wanted to just be here with us eating ham. But things didn't work out that way. Moving on. I've apparently been following you since November 2023. Whoa, really? When did we meet? Interesting. I don't think that's true. That's what it says, I swear. Really? I wonder if you were hanging out in here, because that's about the time Silent Shelf followed me, I want to say. Maybe like a month before that. So maybe from here, this channel. Yes, also, obviously there was a lot more to her death than just being heartbroken by narrator, but I think he is in denial about any of the part he plays into her depression and alienation. Yeah. When you click a name, it tells you how long they've been following this channel. Oh. Is that what you're reading? Wait, December 1st, 2023 for this channel. For Silent Shelf. Is she the only one who cared about Margaret ever? Our narrator did in the past, but the depth of caring is sort of up for debate. Kind of feels like to me, yes. Like, I think superficially our narrator did, but like, did our narrator just like the idea of Margaret? Didn't ever really appreciate her as like a full human on any like to any depth. So you might say like never really cared much at all, but maybe in his own way did care to the extent that like most people in the society seem to care about one another. That's not logical. Why would it do that? Or just, I guess, whatever, like, did you click the name in this chat? Because then it would just, yeah, I guess everything would be related to the channel, right? I feel like narrator cared to the full extent he was capable. Because you're in this channel. Yeah. What does it say when you click my name? Like, if I click your name, V Games, it says, following since January 7th, 2023. Yeah. You were the one person who saw my first stream. Which no longer exists anywhere. First person post tense seems limiting. I think though the entire book is about limitations, you know? Since January 7th, 2023. Yeah. Yeah, I do not follow you. Yeah. How do you make it say that in chat? I do have a followage command. Yeah, you can use that. You're the old head. I had no idea that was a command. Yeah. I think do I have it listed? Maybe I forgot to add it to my list of commands. In my time zone, I followed you the last day of November, but for Japan... Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Right. That's so cool it accounts for that. Asana Good Coding. I would never include that feature. It's a bot command, not the website. Yeah. A lot of these... all of these, right? Just commands that I have... by way of my chatbot, brought into the channel here. It just checks the time we can see when we click your name. It exists in my heart. I appreciate that. I keep talking about it. I want to do another one, like another full playthrough of Tokimeki Memorial. And this time actually archive it correctly. And also my Japanese, still not great, but you know, it's better than it was January 2023. For sure. Any other thoughts on In Watermelon Sugar? Oh, I thought this was interesting. Let's pull this up. Where was all this? Like, I don't think I had been aware of this book until Silent Shelf brought it up. There's, you know, there's like that tier of book that's like, oh, it is in like the public consciousness of like, it's something a lot of people reference, or I'm aware of its existence, but I've never read it. But I don't think I even knew of it. But it does have a lot of, like, it's been referenced here and there. It's been referenced by Nico Case. Big fan of Nico Case. And I never knew Margaret versus Pauline which is a great song, was referencing this book, which is cool. But I think this one I thought was pretty neat. In Watermelon Sugar is referenced in Ray Mungo's book on his experiences founding and running the Total Loss Farm commune in Vermont. He speaks of eye death several times. Stephen Gaskin, who wrote that he felt an acid, weird, and strange mythology in the book, may have based some aspects of the farm commune in Summertown, Tennessee on eye death. I thought that was interesting, the far-reaching effects of this story. And also, I thought this was cool. Like, I didn't know this one's going strong. An intentional community in Lewis County, Tennessee, near the community of Summertown, Tennessee. Founded in 1971, still going. Oh, yeah, this is why I thought this was interesting enough to share. Like, this farm played a role in popularizing soy foods such as tofu, tempeh, and soy milk in America. So just like the ripple out effect of, like, the book inspired, a commune inspired, like, certain foodstuffs to make their way into America, you know? Just how these things influence one another. Like, if you click me, it should say October 23. You have one? So do we think Harry Styles actually read this book or just liked the title for his song? I don't know. Who is Harry Styles? Was he, like, part of a group? Or, like, has he just always done his own thing? I listened to that song. I did not like it. I guess I don't really know what to say. I don't know anything about this guy. I think that song was my first experience with him. As an English singer, songwriter, and actor, his showmanship, artistry, and flamboyant fashion have had a significant impact on popular culture. Oh, he's part of One Direction. Yeah, I don't know. I'm totally ignorant as to the ways of Harry Styles. What do you think? Hearing the song, I didn't get any sense that, like, there was anything explicit, like any kind of connection to the book. I didn't feel like there was any depth there. Just like, hey, I like the sound of watermelon sugar. That's a very evocative image. I'll make a song about it. How did I get up here? Wait. Stop it. Oh my god, what did I just do? What? Get out of here. Okay. What a mess. Can anyone tell me if their own perceptions about mortality were struck by the book? I didn't really think about mortality so much. To me, like I mentioned it a few times, I was thinking about the concept of nostalgia and how it'll just like waste you. So I found that, like, I connected it to my very brief experience on that commune, and then like the idea of nostalgia and kind of like the sadness of like characters like being stuck in the past and wasting away, and then just like everything else seemed to be like specifically about the story itself and not like really about my own experience or mortality. Did you find yourself thinking about that a lot as you were reading? Earlier I saw someone say it was his ex's favorite book. Oh really? Is that what's going on? Mine were not, no. Mortality is something that unavoidably creeps into my readings of everything, so that I'm not unsure if it's actually there, if it's only me. There's a definite reason, like I said, I didn't dwell on that for too long, but there's so much of the book is about that, you know, and there's a lot of death and various scenes of like dwelling on like how the dead are like, you know, how they're entombed below the water with the foxfire and stuff like that I can definitely see that. And like the idea of like the tigers being killed off and like just now extinct and lost civilization, and yeah, there's a lot of foundation and basis for making you go there as a reader. Definitely. Mortality never really entered my mind. Death of the self, yes. Death, no. Even when people died. Thanks for clearing that up. I realize I have a fixation, so I appreciate that. Now I know it's all in my head. I don't think that it is. I can see that. Art is all in our heads, that's the point. Your reading is as much correct as anyone else's. Yeah, especially with a story like this. That's kind of the joy in it, right? And why I was very excited about the discussion today, because I feel like That's why fishing in America. We could have such different readings on it because it leaves so much to the imagination. Like, so much of it is just like waiting for us to imbue it with our own experience and meaning. Well, I don't think so, because I actually have a fixation on my death and fear a lot, so my reading is poisoned by fear. I think both can be true, where like you're more likely, if you are fixated on that and find yourself going there a lot, it takes less to get you there. But I do think there's a lot in this book that is primed to take the mind there and be thinking about those concepts. We can see an empty canvas and feel and think things, even though nothing has been painted. Even nothing speaks to us. Yeah. I think that he's the one guy that will be remembered for something other than the boy band he was in. Yeah? Okay. He wore a dress on the cover of Vogue. I don't know any of these events. I don't think I've ever heard a song by One Direction. I can't think of any. And I don't think fear makes your reading wrong. Everyone has their own experiences, their own fears. These can affect how you experience art, but that is still your experience with that art. Yeah, again, like my experience informed like what I was thinking about and some of my interpretations of like the watermelons and the forgotten works, right? Because of things I've done in my life. And like those are tied to ideas that I find myself thinking about. Like I do think a lot about I don't know, like alienation and like the loss of community, especially like someone who's left their home country like a couple times in my life, or like even before that, like just moved to a different state where I didn't know anybody. So I've like had a lot of personal experience with like very alienating times in my life where like I was truly alone. And so like I connected with those parts of the book. And if you're thinking about those ideas, then you'll connect with that. But I think there's a lot in this book that could take the mind, take the reader to these places, because it's dealing with a lot of different subject matter, right? That is the potential to get you ruminating on these things. I guess you really like Margaret is so crazy. What a himbo. that fucking line, I swear to God, it's so ridiculous. Just having it there on screen, oh my God. We're taking her body down. She's standing here, and she knows. Like, no, she didn't. It wasn't just a broken heart. She was a complex human being. But yes, some aspect of her was influenced and like affected by, you know, like the failure of her relationship. And now you're standing here with the guy that used to be with Margaret, and you're feeling like maybe some guilt and the sense of loss and all this, and you know, you just burst into tears. Like, man, I guess she really liked Margaret. Just, what a fucking nothing. There's just nothing going on. Well, like my reading of Psychopomp is obviously screwed up. No one thought that. That's the joy of the discussion, though. I think a lot of us thought things that others hadn't, you know? And like, wow, what a cool idea. What a good reading. What an interesting take. Just because no one else thought it doesn't mean it's wrong. Art is our experiences. So yeah, sometimes those are the best takes. Some, like, you know? A truly unique reading of a book, like those are the things that most excite me. Like a lot of my things, like I think are probably general takes. Bring me the good shit, the really unique, wild readings. I love that. I don't even think it's that wild. Like I said, I totally get it. Art matters because of how we subjectively experience it, and it can help us understand ourselves just as much as it helps us understand others. Right, and I think because I'm a woman and read this, I instantly had the perspective of how the genders are written in this book. Yeah, I guess she really liked Margaret. I loved you bringing that in, because like it did come up, but I didn't dwell on that aspect of it like explicitly to such a degree. And like, yes, actually, I hadn't really, like, I recognized in Margaret that she's like the most inquisitive and interesting character in the book, but like I didn't really take a lot of time to just compare her to the male characters and like have it like an explicit sort of comparison there, you know? And I like that you brought that up. Like, yeah, that's very funny. I'm almost certain you have a rule that you don't engage with more than one comment before you consider it at least a moment. I see you pausing before going on. Are you intentionally doing that? I try and if someone takes the time to write something, I usually try and take the time to think of, like, yeah, listen to it. Like, this is a chatty stream. I'm here to talk to all of you. So I always try and, yeah, think on it a little bit. I think it's just the thoughtful bug. Especially today. I mean, that's the stream. And we're going to do video games here in a little bit. But, like, for right now, like, that's what we're doing. It's just sharing ideas. So, maybe you could read a chapter of my book with male-female twins because I need a female perspective. I'm literally a female twin. No, identical, fraternal. Oh my god. I made a post looking for one to read. What the fuck? It would be an honor if you would. You could put your book on the wheel. You could do it. But it's not done though, right? Do you have a final, like, rough draft? A full draft? It's in editing. Feel free. That would get you some readers. But I can also, like, I get I'm serious, like, feel free to do that, but don't feel like you got to if you don't want to. That can be a very I don't know, like, that can be very anxiety inducing to have a public reading of your book, especially if it's in a rough state. I'll whisper you a single 1,500 word section. Whisper me a link on here and I'd take a look if it's not a big commitment. I think that was kind of the extent. Oh yeah, I was just like, I meant to listen to this before the stream today. Brodigan recorded a spoken word album for the Beatles' short-lived record label Zapple, and I meant to take a look at that, but I didn't. It was released in 1970 on Harvest Records as Listening to Richard Brodigan. I wonder how it is. I think the final note I had in my notes here, let's see. I wonder if the emotionless response to In Boyle's group suicide is the opposite end of the spectrum. Shackled to nostalgia leads to degradation and death, whereas complete abandonment of the past with no knowledge of your own cultural or historical foundations leads to an emotionally stunted, colorless, and alienated present. I think that was the final thought I was left with upon finishing the book. Oh wait, new Silent Shelf lore dropped, or did I know this already? Silent Shelf has mentioned it. Maybe you weren't in here, but you might have mentioned it before. You have, very briefly. I think once, maybe twice. Really, it's not a problem if you can't, but it's like fated that you're a twin, so don't ignore your fate, please. Okay, back to book. Or maybe not. Maybe, are we done with book? Silent Shelf, thank you so much for putting this on the wheel. I'm very glad to have read it. Like I said, I'm on a Brodigan kick. I think I'm going to finish this next collection I've got, which is 3 other books. The next one, I'm trying to remember now. It was, it's a bunch of short stories. They're very short, like a couple pages, some of them. It's mostly just like an image. It's almost like poetic. Just like, here's an image, and then just, there it is. There's not really, like, we don't elaborate upon it or anything. Thank you so much for holding this. I have a lot of thoughts I wouldn't have had without this discussion. This is the second one we've done, and it's one of my new favorite things to do. I love it. I really look forward to it. I can't wait for next month. And the one after that, and the one after that. I've missed it, you know? I was an English major. I used to get to do this like several times a week for just semesters at a time. And I haven't really, like, I was in a book club post-college for like a year. And then, like, since then, yeah, I don't think I've ever had, like, a regular communal reading experience to, like, discuss stuff like this. I'm happy it was chosen. I know it isn't everyone's thing, but that book means a whole lot to me. I can see why. I'm glad it was my thing. even when Brodigan is not my thing, I find something interesting, like in other books. But this one, like I just enjoyed it. I think it's based on what I've read.
Spotify
It's the best
プレイリストの
thing
世界
I've seen. We're gonna snooze ads for a couple minutes. Thoughts about the psychopomp thing are forming. I have to reread the book from that perspective. It makes sense, I think. Lanterns representing death in general. I saw the lamp as the tarot card of the hermit. Just search lantern in the PDF and it's making sense. It doesn't hit for me since Pauline doesn't really have anything to do with Margaret's death or the death of the self that the commune brings, but I'll consider it more too. Which I see as psychopomp imagery. Excuse me. If anything, the old man... Chuck is more of the psychopomp to me. It could represent narrator's death. Margaret is him, almost being a person. The woman with the lantern is the one he is with when he loses that, even though neither woman lacks a self. That's an interesting point too. I like that idea. Yeah, and if it is like Margaret, him almost being a person, like almost like she's her own human being and own person, but if we are to like treat her as like a metaphorical, I don't want to say object, piece of like the narrative, like to have more metaphorical weight of like this part of himself that he could explore and engage with if he decides, like his rejection of that relationship is also him rejecting like the potential of himself to be more emotionally connected and more inquisitive about the world, right? And he's fixated on this lantern idea, like a moth drawn to the flame. You know, it's like I have someone beside me that would take me, like if I were to stay with her, she would open up my world and lead me to all kinds of insights and adventures and exploration. But I'd rather just look at the pretty girl with the lantern. I wonder what color her hair is. He's on the cusp of personhood, and the woman with the lantern draws him away from that to the death of the self. I love this reading. Would fit with the misogyny as well. That's so good. Yeah. I'm liking thinking of it as old man Chuck, especially since he's old, doesn't need to light the lanterns, but he wants and seems to like every night regardless. There's also the story of Orpheus and Euripides. Fair. I hadn't really connected those ideas yet. I was kind of keeping them separate, but yeah, just like Margaret as, in addition to being her own character, representing the potential for him to like follow in her footsteps, so to speak, or like be influenced by her and be more than what he ends up being. But he rejects it. He turns away from her because he sees a nice, pretty girl, slightly illuminated by a lantern in the woods, and just wants to live a life of aimless statue carving and book writing and getting more stew. Wants more stew. Feel free to keep sharing thoughts, but just anyone hanging out, get your book ideas ready. Or go ahead and you can start letting me know, and I'll get them on the wheel here, and we will spin it as soon as everyone's shared their final thoughts on the book. We're at about 2 hours. I feel like this is like somewhere around here. Again, no rush. Like I've shared the things I want to share, so we can move on to Rootbound Creatives games as soon as we're finished up and have chosen a book. Where he must enter the underworld and get her back, but fails almost on whim. I'm so glad we have a book club, because without V, I never would have had these thoughts. Yeah, it's really the joy of the book discussion, and it's not the type of reading I would ever have, and this really got my brain working. Lots of thoughts forming, for sure. Yep. It's a great take. I wouldn't have gotten there. Like, I didn't make that connection at all. Funny enough, the first time I read this book, I was 15 and read it while sitting on aqueducts near my childhood home. Oh, wow, really? Thanks for your interpretations, too, and they grow my understanding. How big were the aqueducts? Thanks, everybody, for your interpretations. This has been great. Let me check my Discord server just to make sure no one dropped a book recommendation in there. Book request. All right, we're going to snooze them one more time. I don't know who's still hanging out. Radiated Fishy, Plaid Jammy Pants. Did y'all, especially like those who read the book, but I shouldn't say especially, like anyone. Anyone want to submit a book for next month? PM, or I'm trying to think who else I've seen this morning. Not super big. People used to go swimming at them sometimes. I've seen so many things that are called aqueducts, so I'm trying to visualize it. You know what I'm trying to visualize? Rock-a-doodle-doo. Whenever I hear the word aqueduct, I just hear, is it an owl? Aqueduct. Rock-a-doodle? Is this something? This is something, okay. I haven't totally lost my mind. Amazing book suggestions. So much great discussion about it. Yes, it was a great... This is like... I think whether or not you enjoyed the book, it is a great choice for a book discussion because there's so much to interpret and so many potential different takes to have. It was a pick full of potential. Thank you again. Any idea how long you're planning to stream today? A while. So after this, don't touch that dial. A friend of mine, Rebound Creative, we're going to be streaming their indie games. I don't know how many. Some of them are Game Jam games, so they might be not too long. I'm not sure, but then you know me, I'm slow, so it might take all day. If there's time after that, I want to play some more Labyrinth of the Demon King. But that's the goal for today is book suggestion, or I'm reading a comment. Book discussion and Rebound Creative's games. And we streamed 3 of them in the past, and they've all been very good, so I'm very excited. And just like looking at the pixel art, I was getting very good at pixel art. Replace Sword of Destiny with The Hobbit. That's right. I thought so too, in a manageable length. I have the Grand Duke of Owls in my yard. He's my favorite villain in 90s animation. You know what I'm talking about. Loved Rock-a-Doodle growing up. I haven't seen it since I was a child, but I remember really enjoying it. No one ever knows the movie. I'm surprised you liked it or knew it. Something about the way he says aqueducts. I don't know why. I've never watched it in English though, only Norwegian. What? I have to hear the Norwegian soundtrack. I'd like that too. Last call. So Dracula was Mr. Red Eye's pick. We haven't seen Mr. Red Eye this morning. We're just gonna keep Dracula on there. And Watermelon Sugar. Hey, Silent Shelf, do you have a new pick for next month? Something else you'd like to read? The Shadow of the Torture is mine. I think I'm gonna keep that on there. Actually, I thought about switching it out with I learned there was a Cyberpunk 2077 novel. I think I might put that up next time. Watership Down from V, and then Hobbit from Frederick. If that rooster never crows. I can't read that with the right intonation because it's just been too long. No new pick for you? Okay. Last call. Last call for books. Get them in. We're going to spin. In 3, 2, 1. What are we reading? We're reading The Hobbit. All right. Hell yeah. A classic, it is. It was my first experience with Tolkien. I read it in elementary school. I have a lot of experience there. I'm going to have to defer to y'all because, like, I'm not going to have, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have the Tolkien lore and connections. I'm going to be quiet and just listen to, you read Lord of the Rings first? All the smart things that people have to say about this one. You prefer the Silmarillion? I've never read that. Well, I'm definitely gonna... I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say. Okay, we're gonna switch to video games. I'm gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna change gears here. Thank you, everyone who came to another meeting of the Monthly Book Club. I had a great time. Hope you did too. Stream is not ending. I'll be right back, but it's video games from here on out. So I'll see you next month for The Hobbit. I will put stuff out in the Discord server for like reading goals and the schedule of when the next stream is. And then we can share stuff in there for any thoughts that we have. So I will be right back. See you in just a minute.